Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Binet, and I am the lead for the Center of Excellence for Digital Innovation at the EECD here in New Brunswick. And today I'm joined with a very special guest, Stephen White, who is a New Brunswick high school graduate from St. Malachy's and is somebody that's currently in third year at UMB Computer Science and their co-op program, and has a unique background involvement with things like CyberTitan in our schools. And I just wanted to connect and have a chance to share some of your experience, Stephen, with some current students that might be sitting in a classroom in grade 9 or 10 right now, thinking about life and thinking about what the next thing is. And so here we are. So thank you, Stephen, for joining us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we'll start we'll go in kind of chronological order then. So just tell us in general, I guess, what was your first fascination with technology anyway? What led you to technology or your technology to yourself?
I guess the first thing that led me into tech is going to sound interesting. I was already kind of interested in tech probably around middle school, that I started learning about kind of just like people on YouTube, seeing some of the things they did. And I think it was in grade 8 that I got my first computer. It was like a Christmas present or something. I was psyched because that was an expensive Christmas present. It was a few $100s for me, and at the time that was crazy. And it let me start to download things that I couldn't on school computers and start to explore stuff like programming languages. So the first one I started with like C#. And that kind of led me down the track of once I started programming, I realized, hey, I have this platform that I can invent on, and I loved it.
I love that concept, because I know from teaching comp sci in the past, my colleagues that teach like chemistry or biology, it's like a finite thing that you deal with in terms of chemicals, or if you're doing a dissection, let's say, of an animal. But in the world of computers and technology, we have infinite, like this platform, like you said, sort of this platform, this environment that we can continually basically break stuff. We can have a sandbox where we get to constantly try and fail and whatever. And so that's a really neat summation, I think, of why technology I find to be so fascinating in a lot of ways. And so and a lot of our students sometimes might not have had that experience that you just talked about, owning a computer, having their first computer. It was certainly a thing that was prevalent in the 80s or 90s and the early 2000s, but with the advent of smartphones and tablets and gaming consoles, fewer students get their hands on an actual computer. So it just goes to show the power of having the tool to do some exploration and learning. So that's really cool. So you just sort of gravitated towards, you saw something neat that you could do and learn on your own. So then I presume once you got into high school, grade 9, 10, 11, 12, you had the opportunity to further advance in terms of some actual tech courses.
Yeah, big time. When I started in high school, I would say, I think it was like grade 10 that I met, Mr. Murphy. I was very fortunate to have someone who was big in tech at my high school. And I remember specifically, I was sitting in the tech class and he mentioned, hey, anybody that's interested, after school, we're not, what was it? It was kind of like next week or so, one of the days, we could get out of classes for the day and have pizza if we competed in this fancy cybersecurity competition called CyberTitan. And I was really interested in that. And that got me down the rabbit hole. I was already down the rabbit hole kind of programming. That one got me down the rabbit hole of security and cybersecurity. And kind of had the ability to actually even enrich my programming capabilities by developing something that applied in a different area, and that was creating tools that helped us and our team in that cybersecurity competition.
Awesome. And that's such a great, and we do sometimes bribe students, I guess, with pizza and different free lunches just to bring them to the space. But like you said, once, I mean, you're probably going to gravitate that way anyway, but once you're there and once you roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and start to learn a bit about it, all of a sudden the synapses connect. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of neat to see that you're like, wait a minute, I learned this thing over here and now I'm learning this over here, but I can connect, I can use this wealth of knowledge to help me in this area, right? And that's another great part of that holistic understanding of computers and hardware and software and operating systems, right? And so an early adopter of CyberTitan in our schools. Stephen, you how many years did you end up competing in high school? Sorry, was it grade 10, 11,
grade
12?
10, I think I started.
Okay.
Yeah, so
yeah.
all three.
3 years. And so Stephen was saying Mr. Murphy and the team there at St. Malachy's actually went to national finals in Ottawa, right? And competed nationwide. So CyberTitan, and again, I've talked a lot about it in the past with a lot of people. It's something, if you don't have a team at your school, think about it, because it's a great competition to get your feet wet in cybersecurity for sure, and just learning about computers and hardware, really. So then, Stephen, and walk us through, you were somebody that was lucky enough, and like you said, to have a great teacher like Mr. Murphy that loved tech, and you could probably talk shop and learn a little bit, and just sometimes just those casual conversations are the best. And then in grade 11 and 12, you proceeded to take probably the computer science 11, computer science 12 type courses and that sort of thing. Did you any other tech courses that you got a chance to take? You recall?
There's CS 11, 12. I remember there was, just because I love being in the tech lab. There was like a CAD course that I took, one or two. And I think like I remember the code, but I don't remember exactly what it was for. It was IT 120. It was pretty basic. It was going over like Microsoft Office and stuff. But it was kind of just being in the tech space and being able to talk with people there, and the teachers having the time to talk with the teachers there. That was really rewarding to me, I found.
Right. And so, yeah, like the IT course and like that's albeit some might see it as boring, but having those fundamentals of using Word and PowerPoint and Excel and all those things are valuable. It's something you use every day as a student, I'm sure. And I know you're probably somebody that was self-taught and knew a lot about it anyway, but for more, I recommend that sort of course for any student that's thinking about university, college. Like, it's a good skill to have. And you're right, that project-based, what we would call project-based learning in a computer lab, like usually in the computer lab at a high school, we're not lecturing for 30, 40 minutes, like maybe like a history or like a more complex subject. We're letting you do the thing. And then you're right, it opens up the opportunity to have more casual conversations about different things. So that's really cool. So another thing I wanted to hit on, not only did Stephen participate at CyberTitan, not only did I do a bunch of awesome tech courses at the high school level, Stephen actually created a scoring engine that was used by ICTC, by the CyberTitan folks, for different things over the years. And again, for just so everybody knows, in CyberTitan, you're basically have an instance of Windows 10 or 11 that has some stuff wrong with it. And as the students go in and fix those issues and vulnerabilities, there's a real-time scoring engine that basically it's like a website that's reloading or refreshing every so often, and it's a gamified environment essentially that the students can see how they're progressing and doing in real time, right? And so tell us a little bit about how you got involved in that and what the process was like.
I started in the first year, and the first year that I did CyberTitan grade 10, it was really interesting to me, but as it was my first time, I was still learning. By the second time, which was grade 11, I was trying to think, and I was kind of, I don't know if self-elected or I think my team kind of elected me as the team captain. I was thinking, how can we do better this year and get to nationals? And so I came up to two solutions, and one was practice and one was automated tools, which everybody uses and you do in real life too. Like in the actual, nobody's going to go and manually do everything on 1,000 computers in an enterprise. Right. So for practice, though, we couldn't run CyberTitan outside of the competition environment, which was the only practice that you could do is when you're competing, which is kind of problemsome. Like it introduces some issues because we wanted to train beforehand and get good at the task beforehand. So I decided to make the scoring engine, which was kind of just mimicking how CyberTitan ran theirs, probably with a bit less security measures because it was our own in-house and we didn't have to worry about someone trying to cheat. Right. we made that tool that would check, oh, hey, has this user been deleted or has this user been added? Is their password complex enough? Are these certain security policies are in place? Is this malware still on the server? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And as you said, real-time updates, and then we would distribute this on the machines that this high school had allocated kind of for us that we could practice on, and we just practiced. And because we practiced, when we came to the competition environment, competition no longer was our practice. It used to be, but now it was,
right.
We're here to play and we're here to do good. And yeah,
that's such a great microcosm of all the potential that all these skill sets hold. And you found like the most perfect distillation of using your skill set to better yourself and your team, to practice, to learn, because it's all interconnected. If you understand how the scoring engine works, obviously you understand the criteria to get the points. Obviously, then you've done the research to an extent to understand the things you got to do to get the points. So it's like a self-fulfilling sort of prophecy from stem to stern, or whatever you want to look at it. So that's pretty awesome. And then, so you did all this, you had extracurricular experience, you did a bunch of coursework in tech. And then basically once you graduated, you said, okay, I want to continue to pursue. So tell us what you're up to now, and tell us how, well, I presume you wanted to get into comp sci most likely one way or another. Did you have any other ideas, or comp sci was the for sure route for you?
It's completely unrelated, but it was either I wanted to go comp sci or I wanted to go the Air Force. Of two very different realms. I was doing good in computer science though, so I decided to stay on that route. I guess the like a fighter pilot was like a childhood dream, being able to fly a plane. But yeah, anyway, computer science was where I knew I wanted to go. The real question was, would I want to go into software, or would I want to go into security? And as I continue more and more in the space, I'm realizing, why not both? There's a lot of overlap between them, because they are two high demanding fields, which means there are paths for those niche kind of designations.
Right, exactly. So, and that's really important for like students, like again, that are like listening, or parents, to understand that though, like, so cybersecurity and security in general, software development and different things, like all of these things, like there's all kinds of different types of jobs within them as well. And there's hundreds and hundreds of job openings, right? Like it's just phenomenal what the job market is like for both of those things, and right here in New Brunswick. So either firms that are in New Brunswick or working remote for another firm, and being able to enjoy our sort of New Brunswick lifestyle in terms of like comforts and the nature and things like that. And so Stephen's in a very, very good position to be able to, and have clear eyes. And it's neat that you've identified, like, well, it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be both, right? Like, and there could be a winning strategy there. So you ended up at UMB Fredericton, and you ended up in their computer science program, and the co-op program, right? In particular. Yeah. So what do you like about the program? What do you like about UMB and computer science and co-op? What would you say to students that are sitting there thinking about this?
What I would say with it is, first, computer science. What I like about it is what I like about a lot of the courses that I saw in high school, and that is you are there, you're with some like-minded people, and you're there able to talk with people that kind of know some stuff. So in computer science, specifically at university, there's a lot of students around me that have same interests that I do. And so I can talk with them about interesting topics. And when I go to a professor, they know what they're talking about. I can talk with them and ask questions and learn. Regarding co-op specifically, there's often a big disparity between academic and the real practical industry. And so by doing co-op, I'm kind of getting to learn both at the same time, because a lot of the time I've actually kind of heard that people would come out of a computer science program and be thrown into a job and they wouldn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You don't want to spend 4 years and then go and try to be thrown in the field and not know what you're doing. But with co-op, it's you get eased into both at the same time, and you end up coming out of university with a lot of work experience and a lot of connections.
Right. And so like I love the things you hit on there. It's like concurrently things are happening, and it's right because going from theory to practice is always different. And I guess it would be disheartening after doing 4 years at a computer science program and maybe doing really well and excelling and landing in a job and being like, I have to relearn or learn a whole bunch of other things too now, or like how they're doing things here. And what you're saying is all the way through with this co-op program. So every so often in terms of the semesters, how they rotate, Stephen has the opportunity to go and do a co-op. Some of you, now you've done yours in New Brunswick. Some of your peers, I have the opportunity sometimes to leave the province even or remote for another company that's elsewhere, right, in Canada or somewhere.
Yeah.
And the other cool benefits of like, not only are you getting experience, not only are you meeting a ton of people, obviously, right? You're networking all the time. You're figuring out which industry, I guess, or which sort of area you're enjoying or not enjoying. And I think the cherry on top is you are paid for this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, and paid pretty, I know it's not the same as when you're done, what you can make, but like as a student, you're paid pretty good typically, right? At these positions.
Yeah, it's. I won't go into any specific numbers, but for example, along high school, I had to work part-time because, well, I had to find a way to try to pay for university, and it definitely eased the mind a bit, seeing the kind of wages that even students in university are getting with co-op. So yeah.
And so that's one of the selling points for a program like this is that you're going to university, and a lot of students sometimes try and juggle a part-time job and things, but in this program, you literally have a full semester that you go and work at a job and make some money, and you're learning the experience, you're making money, you're helping to pay for your degree and your housing and your food and all that sort of thing. So like, to me, it's a really winning formula for a lot of students, right? Especially with the cost of university and the cost of everything, right? And so you're a couple of work terms now. You don't have to go into detail of who it was or what it was, but what have you? So you've worked. Stephen's worked for a couple different places, or co-opted a couple different places. One private industry. For instance, so how did you feel in your experience? Like, and again, just what was it like? Was it enjoyable?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. The finally being in a sense of not just, oh, am I with it? And don't get me wrong, being with students that I'm talking with and chatting with, and they're around me, and we're learning about subjects together. But then going into the work field and working with people that know what they've been doing. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years now. There's a humbling part of it. Which is you go in and it's like, oh, I think I know all this, and you don't. But that's important. That's important you get, because once that hits, you kind of learn a bit more. And being able to learn from the people that are doing stuff and learn what it's like actually in the industry. And I personally, I love learning about those kinds of things, learning about different languages or different technologies that are being used by like the company I'm at. I worked at a bigger company, so there was a lot more people around me with specific roles that I could learn a great deal about. Overall, I really, it gave me the opportunity to make sure I liked working in the space, not just learning about it, but working in it. Right.
And like so valuable. So, and co-op, something I know as a high school teacher, I always encourage my students to think about if they could fit it in their schedule, because sometimes co-op's challenging in high school, as you probably know, with course selection and that sort of thing. And one of the things too, I know that you're out of high school now, but like we are introducing a new credit system for fall of 2023. So students might actually have a little bit more flexibility in their day, right, to sort of pursue some of the things that we've talked about here. So you're more than halfway through your program at this point, right? You're doing some coursework you're in class this semester. You'll have another co-op work term or two, maybe 2 or 3 left, probably.
Probably 2 or 3, something like that. It's not static; it can change.
There's a little bit of flexibility, which is great. Another great feature, right? And so now you're looking, and that's something that is great. You've whittled down, or you're starting to develop those areas that you think you want to pursue, right? And coming out of universities, there's a lot of students that have no idea. Maybe, especially some other degree programs, right? Like maybe you got a psychology degree, or maybe, and nothing against that, or a poli-sci degree, or history or geography. Once you get out, it's like, okay, what's next? But for somebody in this program, unless you really took a turn and just started to really dislike programming, right? Pretty much everybody could get into the field where they want, in the area they want. And so lastly, we'll kind of hit on, we kind of talked before we hit record. So the neat thing for you now is you'll have the option, do I go for a company? Do I jump in and work at an established big company or something? And then you also talked about that entrepreneurial possibility. Not saying that you're locked into that at all, but it's something that I think that somebody sitting there where you're at right now, that would be something you think you could look into or at least consider.
Definitely, yeah. So alongside being able to do my university, and especially with the co-op, relieves some of the financial stress. When I am in a study term, I kind of have some free time now. And it's like, what do I want to do? And as someone who's passionate, at least in the computer space, it's side projects. And any of these side projects, if they do good enough and I can kind of like see a certain niche that it can fulfill, that's a possible business. That's something. And it's currently a search of like, what do I want to do in that kind of terms? Or if I want to, like, because we were mentioning, is it the corporate space you want to go into? Is it the startup space? Well, I know at least either way, based on where we are here in New Brunswick, both are prosperous. Both are doing very good, especially in the computer science field. There's demand everywhere. Yep. So kind of wherever you go, just aim in the general direction and you'll hit a target. Right.
Yeah. And that's I just love that openness and that mindset that there's possibilities. You're going to continue to forge ahead. If there's little passion projects on the side, you'll pursue those because you're passionate about them. And that learning continues in that way. You have formal classroom learning, you have co-op learning, you're meeting all kinds of people as well, right? So I really, really love that kind of your message. Just everything you've said is really inspiring. And it's something to be very proud of. And I know that you've worked really hard. It's not like there's a lot of hard work, and I'm sure a lot of late nights and a lot of countless forum deep dives, reading stuff and textbooks and watching YouTube videos and all of the rest. But I think the message to students is like just something to consider. And I think too, you said maybe you get out and get into a job and you're not enjoying that. Well, there's hundreds of other possibilities, right? Because again, your skill set is so in demand, right? And so it's something that I think will it doesn't matter. You're going to have success. You just got to figure out which way it looks like to you, right? And that's really exciting. So I can wrap it up there. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me, and more importantly, to hopefully to have students hear about your experience. And I know you're somebody that I'll keep an eye out for down the road to see your name pop up somewhere along the way, be it with some sort of app development or program or game or in the industry, right? So perfect. Well, thanks again, Stephen. It was really nice to talk, and we'll hopefully see what you're doing next somewhere out there.